What's up, YouTube? Welcome to the Credit Plug channel where we talk about how to build credit, how to establish relationships with banks and financial institutions, and most importantly, how to get you access to high limit credit funding. If you're new to our channel or if you've been checking out our content, make sure you hit that subscribe button as well as smash the like button. It helps our content reach a wider audience and we greatly appreciate the support. So for today's video, we're going to be talking about third-party credit card issuers. Now, I don't think we've covered this topic yet on the channel, but I think it's very important that you understand the role that third-party credit card issuers play, especially for those who are planning an application spree, because third-party credit card issuers can have multiple banks where they're issuing the same cards. Now, for those who don't know what a third-party credit card issuer is basically a larger bank or a larger financial services organization that partners with smaller banks and smaller credit unions in order for those credit unions to be able to offer their own branded credit cards. But one thing you have to remember is that even though, let's say you go to West Banco and you see their business credit card says West Banco on it, it's actually being underwritten by Elon Financial Services. So there are a couple that are major players: Elon Financial Services, First National Bank of Omaha. And I also wanted to cover two lesser known third-party credit card issuers. So these third-party issuers are connected to larger financial institutions. They can provide all the back office support, all the customer service, and everything related to servicing a credit card portfolio. Now, the reason why they team up with smaller banks is because smaller banks may not have the infrastructure, may not have the staffing. So it's easy for them to just team up with a larger institution that already has it in place and they can roll it out to their customers much sooner. So that's one of the reasons why you see a lot of institutions where they're offering, let's say, a credit card, but it's really backed by Elon Financial Services. One thing about Elon Financial Services is that they're owned by US Bank, which is one of the largest banks in the country. Now, there's a lot of cases where you have these third-party credit card issuers that are actually owned by like a large bank. Another example is Department Store National Bank. Now, we did a review on them. They actually issued the Macy's American Express as well as the Bloomingdale's American Express. Now, the average consumer might look at the credit card and think that it's backed by American Express, but they're only using the Amex payment network. Department Store National Bank is owned by Citibank. So Citibank owns them and Department Store National Bank issues these credit cards. They team up with different retailers to offer credit products, but it's not actually Bloomingdale's or Macy's that's underwriting it. At the end of the day, it's really Citibank that's underwriting it through Department Store National Bank. So there's a lot of examples of larger banks kind of having their hand in a lot of other smaller institutions, but it may not be as obvious to the regular consumer who actually is underwriting that credit card. So the reason why it's so important is because if you go to multiple financial institutions that are using the same third-party credit card issuer, then you may not be able to get the credit card from multiple institutions. Those banks aren't underwriting those cards themselves. So that's one thing that can trip you up in case you are going on an application spree and you don't understand the dependencies between these different financial institutions if they're using the same third-party credit card issuer. One opportunity that this does create is the fact that if you're not already in one of these third-party ecosystems, you can get into them through different financial institutions. So let's go jump over and I'll walk through some examples.
All right, so real quickly, I wanted to give you guys an example of third-party credit card issuers. So we talked about Elon Financial Services. They have a credit card program for banks and credit unions. Now, they've been around since 1968 as a third-party credit card issuer. Elon Financial Services has partnered with over 1,300 financial institutions to offer a competitive credit card program. So this is an outsourced credit card program. They do all the servicing, all the customer service. This is a testimonial from the COO of Navigant Credit Union. If you go on their website and you look in the fine print, it says the creditor and issuer of these cards is Elon Financial Services. Now, when you look here, it has the name of the credit union on the credit card. So from the consumer's point of view, you might think that's a credit card that's issued by Navigant Credit Union. But at the end of the day, it's being underwritten and issued by Elon Financial Services. Now, and the reason why you need to be aware of this information, so let's say you're going on an application spree and you're applying at Navigant Credit Union and you're also applying at West Banco. Now, these two financial institutions use the same servicer. So they're using Elon Financial Services. You go down here, you look in the fine print, the creditor and issuer of these cards is Elon Financial Services. Now, what does this mean? So if you're applying to these cards at these different institutions, you're actually applying to Elon Financial Services twice. And that's one thing that you may not be aware of just by looking at the website. You might think that these are two different financial institutions, but at the end of the day, it's the same issuer. So this can prevent you or even cause you to be denied for one of these cards, because in most cases, you're not going to be able to have multiple different cards that use the same issuer from different banks. So that's just a quick example. Another example is FNBO, First National Bank of Omaha. They're probably number 2 after Elon Financial Services, but they also issue cards for other banks as well. Here we have New York Community Bank, which also uses FNBO. If you look right here, right, credit cards are issued by First Bank Card, a division of First National Bank of Omaha. So that's another example. All right, so another third-party credit card issuer that I wanted to go over is Card Assets. So just like Elon Financial Services and FNBO, they team up with credit unions and banks to offer credit cards. Now, they're not as large as FNBO or Elon, but now they offer both personal and business credit cards. So if you're not already in their ecosystem, then this is an opportunity for you. I'm not going to go into all the specifics of the credit cards that they offer, but this is another example of a third-party credit card issuer. And lastly, I wanted to go over TCM Bank. So TCM Bank is actually owned by the Independent Community Bankers of America. Now, again, they team up with different financial institutions to offer credit products. So if you're interested in any financial institutions that actually use TCM Bank as a third-party credit card issuer, you can actually go onto their site and they have a community bank locator. So TCM Bank is really focusing on community bank. Now, community banks are usually going to be more regional or local types of banks. If you're looking for any community banks that issue TCM credit cards, then you can look up the address or look it up by state, and it'll show you all the community banks within your local area.
All right, so let's recap real quick. So there's several large third-party credit card issuers, and these third-party credit card issuers are usually tied to a much larger financial institution. We went over a couple examples in the video. You have Department Store National Bank, which is owned by Citibank. DSMB issues the Bloomingdale and the Macy's credit card. You also have Elon Financial Services, which issues thousands of credit cards, and Elon Financial Services is owned by US Bank. So when you see a lot of these Elon Financial Services credit cards, those are really like US Bank credit cards because US Bank is underwriting and issuing them through Elon Financial Services because they own them. So it's important to understand these dependencies just so that you don't get tripped up if you're trying to go and apply for different financial institutions when ultimately some of those might be overlapping. So I just wanted to share some examples. We also went over 2 other lesser known third-party credit card issuers, TCM Bank and Card Assets. Now, you're not going to find them in as many banks, but there are a handful of financial institutions where they're lending through. We went over M&F Bank, and there's some other examples. You can go on the TCM Bank website and look in your local area to see what community banks. So TCM is going to focus on community banks. Card Assets, there's not too many financial institutions. I want to say anywhere from 8 to 10, which actually hold their cards. Anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. That's all I wanted to cover in today's video. Until next time, y'all take it easy and we'll talk to you soon.